An unstoppable positive energy, always seeing the best in people. Today we are getting to know Hamed Parnian, founder of Vedra. Dedicated to transforming the project management experience, his approach is straightforward. Bringing together the right teams, tackling challenges directly, and focusing on optimizing for efficiency to benefit everyone involved, client, staff, and partners alike. His creativity has propelled his brand to top-tier status, driven by his signature approach. I never do the same event twice. Hamed, thank you for joining the show. To start with, I'd like to know what led you to create your company.
We started Vedra 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago. And I've been in Dubai since 2007 or 2008. I've always been in construction. It's in my blood, and that's what I was born to do. Previous to Vedra, I was working at another consultancy, and I just felt it was time to start a new consultancy that has a slightly different approach. We're really focused, or I personally am really focused on creating a very human company. And I find that we often get lost in these big companies, and we think it's about the processes and it's about having to do something a certain way. And I think the world is so diverse and there's so many different ways something can happen that you just need to keep a certain flexibility. And then I think there is in the Middle East especially, but relationships are very important everywhere. I think in the Middle East there's a high importance on the personal touch and how you manage relationships in business. And so I saw this as an opportunity to start Vedra and to really build a team and keep this very boutique, hands-on approach and just really build a lot of relationships and just get things done through relationships.
So how do you manage to have your team do the same? Because you said it's all about human and you want to do things differently.
I mean, I think every business owner ever will tell you finding the right people and training the right people is always going to be the problem. I think that's the number one problem of any business. How do you find good people? How do you train good people? How do you retain good people? I don't have an answer yet. We're constantly trying. I'm constantly learning. I'm always want to get feedback from my team. Recently, on multiple occasions, I was told I lack empathy at work. So that was good to hear. And it was funny to hear because I think in my personal life, I'm very empathetic. I think all my friends see me as the type of person who's always there for everyone. I think in my head, I'm like that as well at work. But in work, it's I get lost in the need or the want to be efficient. So I kind of want to cut to the chase, and I think that's the wrong approach. So when we're talking about human relationships and all of that, I actually need to be more mindful and make more time for the team. And so I think one of the things is to building good teams is being there for the team, and not just saying right, and but that's what business is about. Efficiency. It's about how efficiently you can use time or resources. And so I think when you're trying to create a human company, it's just slowing down. What does this other person need? What are they saying, or what are they not saying that they want to be saying, and hearing that and then addressing that. And I think that's when they start to feel connected.
So how do we make sure you have this open door policy? They feel comfortable coming to you.
I think one is being mindful of it. It's good for me to be reminded, even as the owner of the company, that I mess up sometimes. I think, just before we started the podcast, we were talking about coaching. I think it's good to have an external voice that supports you in reminding what your values are, what your principles are, and what the original vision was. Like, don't get lost in chasing the clients and chasing the invoices and chasing the work, and then forgetting why you actually started something. And so I think the vision is always very important, and to have somebody that champions that vision and then reminds you about the vision, which will then lead to you to remembering what your goals and values and everything else are.
Can you explain exactly your business model? Because I think it's not only project management and development.
Yeah, so phase one for us is a very traditional project management and cost management consultancy. So we have three main verticals. We provide project management support to our clients to lead consultants. We provide cost management services, and then we provide development management services. So if a client wants to, for example, has funds, we then help them acquire the correct project. We put a team together to do a feasibility on a specific plot. What's the best use case for that plot? We then, once that feasibility makes sense, we then move into the project management stage, the planning stage, onboard the right designers for that project, manage that design process, then go into the procurement process. How do we find what is the right procurement strategy? How do we find the right contractors for that job? How do we break up the packages into, how many packages should we? There's always a cost and benefit to how you split the work in a construction project. And then during the construction, of course, construction management, quality management. How do we make sure that everybody gets paid on time? How do we make sure that nobody's taking advantage of anybody? So the contract administration side is very important. And then closing out the project, handing it over. If it's a commercial project, for example, if it's a restaurant or a hotel, is it ready for operations? Does it make sense from, it's a business at the end of the day. So it goes from a project stage to an operation stage, and that handover period needs a little bit of handholding on both sides and make sure that both parties are happy that contracts are closed out and everybody's been paid, and then that the operations team is ready to operate this and knows how to maintain this facility and keep it going.
Oh, I can understand now the struggle and why you want to be perfect. So basically I'm wealthy, I'm giving you my money and you do everything from scratch to finish.
There's different ways, there's different levels of awareness in construction and experience in construction. So some clients, especially, for example, private residential clients, they say, look, I want to build my dream home. I just have no clue what I'm doing. Those ones, we will handhold them all the way. There are some clients who are commercial clients. They're builders. They've been building for many years. In some ways, they have way more experience than we do, but they just may not have the resources in-house, or it doesn't make sense for them to hire all those resources in-house for one project and then let them go after. So they would bring on somebody like us as a consultancy service and top up their team and help support them with, either specific scope, like just planning management or only cost management, or they'll say, we have a project manager director in our office, for example, but we need a whole team under them, and then we'll bring that team specifically for that project. It just really depends what the client's experience is in construction. The ideal scenario, obviously, we should come first. We can plan it. We can put the right budgets together. The reality is some people underestimate the complexity of construction and they get excited. They think they just need a designer. And then halfway through the design, there's disagreements or there's budget overruns. And then oftentimes it's actually the designers who recommend us to the clients and say, look, just for the sake of the sanity of the project, please bring a project management consultant to kind of manage both of us. And then the relationships improve and everything else goes well.
Where did the name Vedra come from? I'm not sure even if I say it right.
Yeah, Vedra, that's correct. So Vedra is, there's a rock in the Balearic Islands near Ibiza called Vedra. There's a myth that this rock is a magnetic rock. And so, everybody who goes to Ibiza says, oh, it's got this island has a certain energy. And I think the Mediterranean generally has a really nice energy. That's why we all like to go on holiday there. So, the Mediterranean, you talk about the Mediterranean diet and everything else. It's a different pace of life and everything's much healthier. And in Ibiza, very similarly, everyone goes there and everybody, of course, knows it's very famous for the partying. But there's a whole other side to this island, which is much more, the Mediterranean slower pace, very healthy. The nature's great. You do the 3-hour lunches. It's just the pace of life is very different. And for me, when I was looking at building this human company, I thought Vedra was a good representation of that because Ibiza has these two sides. It has the hedonistic partying, you can do 24-hour parties there. And it's got this whole other side of it, completely different. And people feel that. Everybody who's visited Ibiza always says, oh, it feels so good to be here. And I wanted Vedra to be a small representation of that. I want us to work hedonistically hard. I do believe in hard work. I think discipline at work, I think hard work is rewarding, but at the same time, not at the cost of your quality of life. And so I want there to be this balance between, being incredibly passionate and incredibly proud of the work that you do, but having this really nice balance and this human side to it. And construction is incredibly hard, and people do, it's getting paid, and things go wrong, and there's a million pieces in this puzzle that just needs to come together to make this beautiful building. And so I want our clients and I want our partners and all the other stakeholders in the project to say, you know what, construction sucks, but these guys at Vedra, they get it done, but they do it in a nice way. That's what I really hope for the feeling to be from when people interact with us.
How do you make sure your team keep their positive mindset? And because you mentioned how hard it is.
I think one is to feel like you're not on your own. I think that, if you're in a project and there's 1,000 stakeholders to manage, and you forget the big picture, it's a slippery slope and you get lost. I think so. One is from us as Vedra, we should be supporting the teams, checking in with them, just having regular touch points, allowing them to express any challenges that they have. But I think also giving them the tools themselves. Like, if I don't check in with you, it doesn't mean I've forgotten about you. I just need you to come to me and understand that you can speak to me. So I think it's giving them the tools to understand that, okay, right now, being self-aware where you are. If you're having a challenge, if I am self-aware, then I can do something about it. So first of all, it's like, take responsibility for how you're feeling, make sure you understand how you're feeling, and then understand what your options are to address the challenges that you have. And I think one of the things that we ask the team to think about is, sometimes you take a helicopter view of things, and that's how you remember the big vision. And sometimes you go into the details, and you're really just focusing on this one little task and just getting that task done. You need that balance of both. Sometimes you really need to step out, remember, look at the big picture. What are the big pieces of the puzzle that you can already see coming together? And then remembering that everything's actually okay. And then go into the gritty, minute task and just focus on that. Forget the big picture. Some days or some hours you're just focusing on a little task, get them out of the way. And then some days when you're overwhelmed, just stop, take a step back, look at the big picture, look at that helicopter view and say, right, actually, it's not as bad as we think it is. We have a few key issues here. Let me go speak to somebody who can help with that, and then just get it out of the way.
That's a great advice. I think I'm always in the detail. I forget the helicopter view
myself.
Especially as a founder as well,
yes.
because we have so many things to manage, as you said, the client, the team. It's not only about, one person at a time. So when I met you, you mentioned, I remember we talked about how the industry is hard, and you said, I think this industry most people are genuinely good. So I still have my doubts. Can you elaborate on that, what you meant?
One is, there's a few aspects to this. One is, I want to live in a world where I believe that. Whether I'm right or wrong, I think it would be a shame to spend your life being, in bad energy. So that's my personal view on life. So my glass starts being half full. And the second part is, rightly or wrongly, I think that humans are created pure. And so, you could be a certain way in one scenario and you're a certain way in another scenario. Why is that? That's usually shaped by experiences you've had, I don't know, your hormones, something that happened that day. So you as a person in a different scenario would be completely different. You would be perceived different. People would exchange with you in a different way. So if the scenario then is that we know that in different scenarios you could be a different person, that means the baseline is we're actually cool. It's just that something shitty happened that day which just set me off. So let's forget about that. So the baseline for me is everybody is actually good. If that's the case, then when I'm interacting with somebody, whether it's, and this is not just industry, this is relationships, my wife, my family, friends, someone in another country, if we misunderstand each other, let's just accept we've misunderstood something, take a step back, understand what the other person is actually trying to say, and then continue the conversation. So I think And I think in Dubai, it's like I've been here almost 20 years. It is a really nice industry. I think a lot of people from construction come to Middle East and they say, well, actually, weirdly, it is very collaborative industry. Everybody knows each other. People move around jobs to other companies, and then somebody that was a colleague is now actually a client, or somebody who was a client is now suddenly a supplier. And it's actually, I think it's a really cool place to work in the industry. And it's growing. But yeah, I think to the point of the good of the people, it's people forget that. They get caught up in, and that this is I think a problem anywhere in life is, and that's what I'm saying. It's so important to have this chilled view on things. Is don't get caught up in that the hamster wheel thing, running around, and just stop. Remember it, like, this is your life. You've got 24 hours in a day. You've got how many years on this planet? How do you want to spend it? Like, what do you want to do, right? Sure, like, I love making money. It's great. Yes, I want to build beautiful buildings, but at what price? And so, again, like, going back to the values and the vision and everything else, is what are my values in life? Like, how do I want to interact with people? How do I want to spend my time with people? And I can choose. It's my choice. I can choose to be angry and say, why did he or did she do this? Or why did the client cancel that contract? Or why did I not win that bid because I was whatever? Sure, life continues, We're probably the same age. Look at us. We experienced COVID together. We experienced the financial crisis of 2009 together. We experienced whatever else we've experienced in life in those, every 10-year cycles. It all worked out okay, and so I think, like I say, the baseline is we're good. I think the baseline is everything works out at the end. Just keep doing your best work.
You mentioned values. It's interesting. I think for me, it's very important as well. When I interview candidates, actually for my company, my main question is what your values are, and if they don't align. So what are your values, and what's the value of... You mentioned a lot of empathy from outside, but there is also this duality you mentioned that you struggle with. So what would you say are your and your company's main values?
I mean, the company one, I've been told we need to sit down and develop them. I think the values are there for the company. I don't think we've put them on paper. My values, I think be good. I think do proud work. Be really passionate about, like, I mean, I'm lucky in many ways that I know what I love to do. I love construction. I've loved construction my whole life. So there's no doubt what I was born to do. When it comes to values and when it comes to hiring people, I want to find people who understand, who are conscious about what their strengths are, what they love to do, and really working towards that. I'm not saying your work must be enjoyable. There's parts of my job that suck. But yeah, that's, in terms of the context of the values, is one of the main values is, like, do you love what you do? Are you proud of the work that you're putting out? And that's what I want to see people. Most things can be learned, and probably as an interviewer, I'm a terrible interviewer because I go by how I connect with that person, and on the interview day, you're a little bit nervous. So the first part of conversations, I'm always trying to get people to relax a little bit. And then, just really understand, like, what is it that they're excited to do? If money wasn't an issue, what would you do when you wake up in the morning? So work values, that's it. It's really just, do you want to wake up in the morning and do this again and again and again? And that's what I look for.
Do you think you are a terrible interviewer, though? Because I think lots of my actually clients, they tell me that I don't mind about the technical part. I don't mind, as long as they are good human and we can go for a long run. So is it actually a good thing you are doing? Or you think sometimes you regret sometimes hiring someone because you really like them, only because you like them, basically?
I mean, there's been failures in that model. We've hired people where I was like, I like this person, and maybe we didn't test the technical ability enough. Now, you could argue the other way around, is like you're saying, it's the right thing to do. Hire based on personality and values and everything else can be learned. I think, yes, but if you're gonna expect them to learn it, then I have a responsibility to have the systems in place to train them to learn the part that they don't have. And I think maybe I failed sometimes in hiring somebody that I liked and I thought it would be a good fit, and then I didn't have the systems in place to train them. And so, did they fail because I only hired them based on liking them, or did they fail because we didn't have the systems in place to train them for the parts that they're missing? So, to answer your question, I will always go baseline. I will hire based on cultural fit, and because our company is also a little bit weird.
Why?
We're like, we're not. Have you been to our office?
No.
Okay, our office is very casual. Step, for sure. We want people to take ownership of the work. Our office is a fun space, but it's a very casual space, and I think a lot of people are so used to being in a certain box and saying, right, this is my work box, and I know what I'm doing in this box, and I know what's expected of me in this box. And ours is much more flexible and much more fluid. And some people, I think, don't like that. Some people need to know that, okay, from 9 to 5, this is what I'm supposed to do. And it's very clear. And there's 1,000 processes, and they know where they need to plug into. And they don't want to overstep anybody's boundaries, or they don't want to challenge or be challenged. And for me, I've never enjoyed working like that. And I don't want anyone in my team to work like that. And I think everybody needs to have a certain amount of ownership to be able to fit into that. But to your previous question, yes, I will first always want to hire personality over technical. But I think if you're doing that, you must make sure that you have the systems in place to train them. Otherwise, they will fail, and that's not fair on them.
So what step do you have in your interview process? Because you said sometimes you might have missed some part. So how many people are interviewing the candidate, and do you have any testing?
We're always developing that further. Like I say, for me, my first 10 hires, I did purely on if I liked them or not. We now have a 3-step. First, HR and admin teams screen them, just kind of see if there's alignment in what we need and what they want to do. And usually it's a director or one of the other seniors who do the first interview. That's generally a bit more technical in terms of the experience, what they've had, in terms of technically a good fit. And then usually I'll do the third and final interview, and then I wanted to see if we get along and if it's a good fit.
I think we all start like this. It was the same. My company is 6 years old now, but I remember initially I only hired who I like, and then you get some mistake on the way, and then you start to implement. And it's the same when I started my company. My business model was I will do everything different that the recruiter I used to work with, KPIs, process. Forget about this. I want my work to be enjoyable. And then slowly, you just add them because you're just thinking, actually, maybe they are here for something, So you just want the cool part, and you just realize. And that's how we become, I think that's also maybe the reason why you mentioned, like, you are very empathetic outside of work and less inside the work, because we cannot be only this good, always positive, and all. Sometimes you have to put the limit as well.
And take anything in this life, extremes don't work. Yeah. Right. And so if extremes don't work, the center is a good place to be. We need to be empathetic, but we also need to run a business. We need to be human, but we also need systems. It's the yin and yang. Every culture and every religion and every philosophist has talked about this. It's like you need balance. You can't diets don't work. They need balance. Every aspect in your life, it needs balance. And so as much as we want to create this super cool and relaxed vibes, you can do that when you need to hire maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 people, because the pool is quite big, and you will find 5 people who fit into that. And then you need 15 people, and then you need 20, and then it gets harder and harder to find more people from that pool that will fit that criteria, right? So then you need to start putting systems in place. The golden challenge will be, how do you grow a company and keep that human element to it? Because the bigger it gets, the more systems you need, and everybody gets lost. And I hope, I don't want to grow Vedra to that level, but if, whatever reason it happens, I think the best thing to do is break it up into smaller teams or smaller companies. I think let them have autonomy, let them run with a combined vision, always working towards that combined vision. and just have that boutique feel for each one.
So there is no way we can have a large corporate company with a
It's very
boutique
difficult, I think.
mindset.
I mean, let's take the best companies in the world. Apple, for example. What's Apple's culture today? What was Apple's culture when Steve Jobs started? Let's take Coca-Cola. What's Coca-Cola's culture today? Let's take something more local. Let's take Huda Beauty, right? What was Huda Beauty when she started? She was a blog. Then I think she was a vlog. Then she started doing eyelashes. What's the culture in a company today? I think it's just impossible. I'm reaching a stage now after 3 years where there's projects that I don't even know what. Like we had a call with our accounts team, looking at invoicing, where we're behind and everything. She said, "Oh, what about this project?" And I was like, "What is this? I don't even know what this project is." So that means I've reached a point where I don't know what the project is and I don't know who's working on it. And it will happen. It's impossible for me to be on top of every single project. But what I can do is focus on the vision, ensure the values are clear, ensure my values are clear, ensure the systems reflect those values and they have human elements to those processes and systems. I think probably there's, for example, an insurance claim. There's so many processes for you to claim that are just probably very pointless. Take any big company. I promise you there is a multitude of processes and systems that have complete unnecessary, pointless steps to it. Why? Some are just archaic. They've always been there. Nobody's thought about changing them. Some of them are somebody just wants to justify their existence and they've just overcomplicated the system. And so when you're designing your processes and systems, I think there needs to be a connection to your values and your vision and how you maintain the human element to those systems and procedures.
I found your mindset very interesting. When I met you, I told you I think I really like your mindset. So first of all, are you always this positive? And second of all, if you could give an example, because you mentioned sometimes also people are good, it's just that day they were not good. So sometimes we receive a call from a client and really they destroy us. And with my colleague, we always say, let's sleep on it. Like we just say, okay. And then the day after, usually they just call back very kind. So we just leave it for the day after. But do you have, let's say, tangible example of how to deal with difficult situation? And then we can go on to daily habits and how you maintain.
So the first question, am I always this positive? I think even if I'm going to say no, and I think, but even if I said yes, I'd be lying because I can tell people like look at me at the office and say, why is Hamed angry? So I've got this very angry face at work. So, but that's my focused face. But am I positive? No, like I get angry all the time. I'm human at the end of the day. But I think, like I say, it's important. For me, I think it's a slippery slope. I think if you forget that, the world's actually a cool place, there's all these beautiful experiences, there's all these amazing interactions you can have. I think it's important to remind ourselves about positivity, to work always back towards that default position. So no, I'm not, I've got shit days. I've got a lot of shit days. But I want to remind myself every day by some ritual or different means to remind myself that it's okay. Everything will be fine in the end.
What are those rituals?
I'm right now, my life's a mess, but some people have their best thinking in the morning. Some people have their best thinking in the evening. Some people go for a run. Some exercise is proven to help your adrenaline and endorphins and everything else. Mine are, I go to the gym in the morning. My family, of course, like my son is hilarious, even though it's a pain in the ass. I think.
How old is he?
He's 2 years old.
You mentioned.
I think
difficult period.
I think kids, of course, are great. We're so proud of this thing that we've created, so they give us a lot of joy. But for me, the other one that gives me joy is producing good work. I am incredible. I feel really positive when our clients are happy with what we've done. sometimes the clients don't even understand what we've done, you know. Project management is such an intangible service that you don't see. We don't produce these beautiful drawings. We don't buy these materials. We don't buy the stone or the glass. We're just the guys at the back trying to push things along. So a lot of what we do is not even seen. But, you know, when that beautiful restaurant's open, or where that client's moved into the beautiful villa, or, you know, for example, we're building this crazy museum right now. That's from an engineering perspective, one of the hardest projects we'll ever be involved in. There's been like crazy difficult times in it, but we've overcome those, and those are, you know, celebrate that, like, be excited about that, use that as a source of positivity, that, you know, you're working on something really cool, you've solved some really cool problems, and it's turned out okay.
And then the second part of the question, let's go on to some tips when things go hard.
Well, I think definitely sleep over it is good advice. I think when you need to send a letter, sleep over it. I think, what else I would say? Consult others. You know, don't let your mood drive you all the way. Take a break and get a third person's opinion on something. But yeah, sleep over it and consult others.
Great one. You mentioned you're born to be in construction. So can you elaborate on that? Because I feel when I was young, I never had a passion, really. I mean, I never knew what I wanted until very late. And some people, even now they are in university, maybe some of our listeners are still students, and they don't know what career to choose.
I think if you don't know what career to choose, the best thing you can do is try many different things. I've always had jobs, you know, from a young age, but it will always went back to construction. I got lucky in that my father was a builder. I was on construction site since I was 6 years old. Now, when I was in school, there's a brief I went to school in Luxembourg. In Luxembourg, when you go from primary to high school, you either go technical or classical system. I think it's the same in France. And then I thought I would go into, there was a catering school, culinary school in Luxembourg. So I thought I was going to go to that. I love food. I always thought I would end up somehow in the food business and then in the hotel business. Now I'm in the business of building hotels. So still kind of worked out. But, you know, when I was a kid, I was always on construction sites. And, you know, if my dad was going to work, and he never had to ask me twice if I wanted to go with him. I always, for some bizarre reason, I always enjoyed getting involved in the trucks and the sand and the cement, and that there's something about materials that always fascinated me, and good design has always fascinated me. It's just, I think, you know, you have to look at, I think you have two elements as a human, is your nature and your nurture. Your nature is who you inherently are, no matter what the circumstances of your life. And then nurture is, of course, you know, all your experiences, how your parents raised you, what you've experienced in school, what you've learned, and all the external factors that impact you. And so I think one is trying to understand what your nature is. I think that takes a lot of self-consciousness. It takes a lot of learning to be able to tune in and listen to that. And then one is like how you've been nurtured. And of course, luckily, I've been nurtured as well in that field, and I've been exposed to it, and it very quickly allowed me to understand that this is what I like to do.
Yeah, I think self-consciousness is a key, but lots of people, they don't know how to listen to. It's difficult. I mean, it took me maybe 30 years to learn.
I'm still learning.
Yeah.
It's like people talk about gut feeling.
Yeah.
What is gut feeling? Yeah. Gut feeling is that, for me, gut feeling is that split-second thought before it's a thought. Before your brain starts to think, something in your body told you what the right answer is. But then your brain starts thinking, and it starts doubting, and it starts going into 1,000 different variations of it, and you don't remember even what you heard. And I think if we can slow down, if we can listen to that and then understand that and then just follow that, I think most of the time your gut feel is correct.
And take more that helicopter view as
and
well.
100%.
Branding now. So when you think your background is construction, you set up your company, marketing, branding shouldn't be your responsibility, really, when you think of it. But you seem super good at marketing. You think like
I think that's been a pleasant surprise or discovery for myself when I started the company. I thought I had zero interest or capability when it comes to marketing and branding, but it's been a lot of fun building the brand. And I think that's I think that's just been a natural outcome of wanting to build a good culture. I want the brand to reflect the culture. Picking the name has been related to that. The way our office is designed is very hardly linked to that. And the way I interact with, or I hope I aspire to interact with my team, reflects that. And I think, yeah, weirdly, it's the creativity for the branding marketing has come out of there. It wasn't expected. It wasn't something I've learned. It wasn't something I was exposed to before. But it's been a lot of fun, and I'm really enjoying continuing that. But it's like I say, it comes first and foremost. Does the brand reflect the culture? What are we trying to do? What is our purpose? What is it that we're solving? What is it that we are meant to do? And the brand should just reflect that. It's not, some businesses create a brand and they do amazingly well, and then the brand sells the product. For us, for me, I hope the approach is, what am I solving? What is my purpose? And then I want the brand to reflect that.
But it seems also like I get to know you through social media, really, because you seem to be very busy also in events, and like you did the blood donation, you did podcast. How do you come up with all those ideas?
Part of that is it took us a while, but we have a good marketing agency. We wanted to find a marketing agency that understood that we want to do things differently. So that's, I think, our recent successes since February has been that. So shout out to Nuja Inc.
Oh. Absolutely love Manuja.
But even, yes, I think, that she understood that I really wanted to do things differently. But that doesn't mean it's been easy. Like we constantly have a lot of conversations about is this the first guess, or is there something else that we should be looking at? In terms of events and everything else, again, that's a reflection of the company I want to build. So we organized the blood donation, actually, credit to my colleague Katie. I encourage the team to come up with ideas of things to do. In terms of events, we want to do internal events, so events that are for us and our team, how we can work better together, how we can have fun together and everything else. There's events that we want to host with the industry. So the podcast was an example of that. The blood donation was an example of that. And then we want to encourage the industry to host events at Vedra that encourage the industry to collaboration and everything else. So the blood donation, that was all Katie and Melissa helped organize that, and it was weirdly very successful and very well received. And it was a very easy way to support a great cause and to bring the industry together. Everybody showed up and donated. It was really cool. So we will definitely do that again. The podcast was, similar to this. I think a better way to understand people and to break barriers and to remember that everything's good is to talk to each other. And I think, so what we want to try, we've done it once successfully. We just need to make an effort to do more often. Is so we did the first one we did was a breakfast talk. So it was in the morning. We invited 20, 30 people, but it was designed as a podcast setup. So we had a panel recorded so it can be viewed by others, but it was live in a live environment at the office, and everybody could pitch in and have conversations. And it was just an opportunity to have good conversations, laugh because the microphone dropped, and that was quite funny, and to enjoy food together. So we had a Turkish chef and we cooked. No, actually, that one we went a Japanese theme. So that was fun.
Let's check things around. Now we're gonna go on a quick fire few questions about do you hire or not. 2 years gap in a CV.
Yes, depends. It depends the purpose, the reason for that gap. I think one of the ones that you were very passionate about is moms. I think if the mother had a career gap because family, 100%, if the track record's there before they had a kid, then of course they're qualified, and I would love to have them in part of the team.
Thank you for all the moms out there. The candidate came late to the interview.
Most likely a no. They would have to have a very good reason. 99% no.
The candidate is checking his phone during the interview. No. The candidate didn't ask any question about your company.
Depends. They might have been nervous. It was our job to get them to relax and to want to ask a question, but I might still hire them, yes.
The candidate was rude with the receptionist, but very polite with you during the... The candidate doesn't answer your technical questions correctly.
Probably a no.
Candidate shows lots of signs of nervousness.
Yes, I might still hire them.
The candidate didn't dress appropriately.
I mean, define appropriately.
You define.
I mean, the key definition of an interview is a suit and everything else. I just need them to dress smart. Where, like I say, I would actually be more impressed if they said to us, "Hey, I looked at like your Instagram and online, and I met some of your team, and I know you guys are not that formal, and so they're still a polo shirt or something smart casual." I would give them extra points for having done their research.
Brilliant. Before we close, is there anything we didn't discuss today? Anything it's important?
What's important? I think what's important is your previous question on there's kids who go to university and they don't know what to do, or people go through life who don't know what to do. And I would say just get as much experience. Try other things. Interact with other people. Get out of your comfort zone. Meet other people. Get a coach. There's a million ways you can get inspired to figure out what it is that you love to do. But get comfortable with the uncomfortable. And then that's when you figure out what you're good at. And do it a lot. Don't just do it once and say, "Oh, I didn't enjoy this." Do it over and over again. Get so comfortable with that uncomfortable feeling. And then do other things. And then say, "That's what I like to do."
Love this. I'm passionate about personal development. Actually, when I say I don't have any passion, like I didn't grow up like you to be a constructor or to be a recruiter, but I'm passionate about personal development and learning about things. And it's a journey, to be honest. It takes so much time. But yeah, being comfortable in uncomfortable situation, I think you have to put yourself out there.
I think it would be so much. I think it's fun being comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Yeah. It is hard. It takes time. That's the thing also. People think it can happen overnight.
No, it's not. It's
they're frustrated. So they said, "No, I'm not good at public speaking. I'm not doing this."
Do it again.
Yeah.
Thank you. This was fun.
Thank you, Hamed.